Have you ever thought to yourself, you've watched a film too many times? Well, I have, and here's a list of 20 films I've watched too many times. So, in at number 20 is The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson, and it's just under 3 hours long. I could watch this many, many times, but I've just got to stop myself. It's very much like Braveheart, so if you like Braveheart, you're going to like this. There's a slow starter, probably for the first 45 minutes, and then the story and the action starts to unravel itself. It's basically about Mel Gibson's character wants a peaceful life for him and his children, and then certain things happen that make him turn to action. I won't give anything away because it's a really good film. Number 19 is the original Star Wars, 1977, A New Hope. Not really much I can say about that one because I reckon everybody's seen it. Tell me in the comments how much you hate me now. This top 20 is a bit all over the place, a bit like me. I'm not really stuck to any genre in particular or any actor. If I like it, I like it. So in at number 18, we have Misery, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates. So what happens here is, without giving anything away, James Caan has an accident in his car on a snowy road. Kathy Bates rescues him, and then she kind of doesn't, because she keeps him captive in her place because he's hurt his legs and other parts of himself. And then she becomes this very narcissistic person who plays with his mind and kind of tortures him a lot. In at number 17 is The Negotiator, starring Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey. I've seen this film way too many times, probably know every single word in the film. So it's about Samuel L. Jackson's character being framed for a murder, but he didn't commit. And then he takes everybody hostage who he thinks has something to do with something. And it's very cleverly unravelled as the story progresses. In at number 16 is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, starring Robert De Niro and Kenneth Branagh. I really do like the way that the film's shot. It's a bit different to other films. The acting is great. The story's great. If you haven't seen Frankenstein or know of the story, watch it. It's a good film. In at number 15 is The Green Mile, starring Tom Hanks and Michael Clarke Duncan. To be honest, it's a really hard film to explain, but I definitely recommend it. It's set on death row, and it follows the life of prison wardens and prisoners, and their stories kind of interact with each other, and there's a lot of magic in there and a lot of tense moments. It's very much a drama, but definitely worth a watch. In at number 14, the bad Michael Keaton in Pacific Heights. A couple decide to buy a complex and rent out the rooms, and by doing so they invite Michael Keaton, the bad guy, and he gets up to a load of mischief, and it comes to a climactic end at the end. Of course it does, because that's the end. In at number 13, Terminator 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So if you haven't seen Terminator 2 or T2, go watch it. It's a classic. It's a good story, great special effects. Not much I can say about that because it's been out ages. Sticking with Arnold Schwarzenegger again, Predator at number 12. Again, another classic. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. In at number 11 is Forrest Gump. It follows the life of Forrest Gump, played by Tom Hanks, spectacularly. And it's a really riveting film. It gets you right in there. You're with the character all the time. You are immersed in what's going on with him. He's the underdog of the film. In at number 10, I'm all out of bubblegum. They Live, starring Roddy Piper and Keith David. It's all about aliens and their infiltration into Earth. They've taken over the governments. They're kind of programming you to live in certain ways, and it's all for the benefit of themselves. Again, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. You'll be intrigued. In at number 9 is the original Indiana Jones. So this is another case of if you haven't seen it, go and see it. It's Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones. It's action-packed. He's trying to save artifacts from the past from being placed in the wrong hands, and I won't let on any more than that. Now, usually we don't hold hands. At number 8, Conair. It's a very different character for Nicolas Cage to play, and I wish there'd been a sequel. But it follows the transfer of some prisoners on a plane, who then kind of take over the plane, and all hell breaks loose. In at number 7 is Armageddon. It rhymes. Now I've got to say, in my opinion, this is the best Save the Planet film I've seen, and I don't think anybody could top this one. This film is packed with stars, headed by Bruce Willis, and they've got to save the planet by getting on a meteorite and making it explode before it gets to Earth. Will they do it? Find out. Watch it. In at number 6, The Rock, starring Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, and Ed Harris. It's a very different and unique kind of film. Nicolas Cage specialises in weapons warfare, and Sean Connery is an ex-criminal. Won't give too much away about that. But there's some bad guys on Alcatraz, and I need to go and stop the bad guys. In at number 5, Do You Really Want to Jump? The original Lethal Weapon. This is the film that started the cop buddy action genre in the 80s, and it's very well played out. It's a very good script, lots of action, lots of tense moments, but the acting is just fantastic. In at number 4, I know I'm going to get some hate for this one, Live Free or Die Hard. Die Hard 4. But the uncut version, I could only get this by importing it from America. This version does away with the PG-13 rating. There's a bit more blood in there, there's a bit more swearing in there, it makes more sense, and there's a bit more of a solid film. I do recommend, if you're going to watch it, watch the uncut version. In at number 3, Kurt Russell in The Thing. If you like horror and you like jump scares, this will be for you. The jump scares aren't all over the place like they are like in Scream or Final Destination, even though they're Final Destination are good films. These are in the right places and they really do make you jump. It's about an alien that lands in Antarctica, and Kurt Russell and his team have got a station there, and then people start to act weird and get taken over by the alien, and it's quite hard to work out who's who. So yeah, there's a whodunit, horror, jump scares. In at number 2, Touch Me Again, I'll Kill You, Last Boy Scout. The reason I like this film is because there's like a million one-liners in there. It's a funny film, but there's loads of action in there too. It's action-packed. It's Bruce Willis in his prime, and you can't really go wrong. Now, in at number 1 is a family favourite. It's probably going to be passed down generations. I've seen it way too many times. If I had to, I'd put it up there with my all-time favourite, Die Hard, on my previous list. But yeah, Back to the Future. The story, the concept, the script, the acting, the characters, and that's the reason why I've watched it so many times. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Fantastic film. If you've never heard of it, I don't know where you've been. So next week I'll be doing my top 20 underrated movies list. Films that I think should have done a lot better than what they did. So until then, I'll see you next week. Let me know in the comments what films you've watched too many times, what films that you think are underrated to you, and if you want to, there's a subscribe button down there too. See you next week.